Oh hi, I just finished this book written by Hank Green, and I need to talk about it. But before I get into the plot description and what I thought about it, let's start somewhere that may seem irrelevant, but that I promise isn't. Weirdly, that's the sentence I say at the beginning of every new date I go on. I was in university when this video clip went viral.
Well, it's because, see, we're a debate show. It's like saying the Weather Channel
No,
reduces
that'd be great.
to a storm front.
I would love to see a debate show.
In a 24-hour day where we have each side on as best we can get them.
That would be great.
And have them fight it out.
To do a debate would be great, but that's like saying pro wrestling is a show about athletic competition.
Now, the whole thing is 14 minutes long, and I'll leave a link to the full video in the description if you haven't seen it. But just remember that this was about a year before YouTube was a thing. Even history, I know. Online video was just starting to happen because internet speeds were increasing. This video introduced me to Jon Stewart, and potentially, because I'm a big old dummy, made me start to see how cable news was more entertainment than news. Now, I loved it. I enjoyed that there was a person willing to sit there and look both people in the eye and tell them that they were doing a disservice to the country and to the world, that they could elevate the conversation if they chose to, but they didn't. And for a while I was addicted to this sort of confrontation. I thought this would be the way to change hearts and minds. Showing people's biases laid bare would certainly make people see the truth and realize we could demand better. I was a stupid. It was a few years later when this video went viral.
For you!
I asked you if you believed what the Republican pundits were saying.
Did I say yes?
You said nothing, and that's cowardly.
No.
Nothing,
That is
Elizabeth.
not. Do not call me a coward, because number one, I sit here every single day,
So do
open my
I.
heart.
And again, at the time, I loved it. I was basically watching a WWE pay-per-view without having to purchase a ticket. This was two people laying into each other with pure emotion. What I didn't realize at the time was that these were examples of a world that was fracturing. Divisions between worldviews and political parties were getting more extreme. At the same time, YouTube was gaining prominence. I have really fond memories of 2005 and 2006 being a time where people's creativity was flourishing, and by sharing their life online, I was left feeling inspired and a little less alone. Also, I had more hair. The news, kind of like now, was scary, so YouTube was a bit of a retreat away from the doom and the gloom. One of those people who was creating stuff I resonated with was Hank Green. Along with his brother John, they were creating an awesome community called Nerd Fighters, people who fight for nerds, not against them, and innovating with this community on the website. And then Google bought YouTube for an obnoxious amount of money, and some of these top creators began getting paid. As YouTube became more popular, so did the popularity of those people. And soon, while perhaps not becoming A-list stars, they were becoming incredibly popular in certain demographics to the point where they couldn't just go anywhere they wanted. And so that brings us to this book, which takes a bunch of those themes and threads it through a science fiction narrative. April May, yes, I know, but April May is our heroine, and she is in a low-level position at a startup, struggling to get by. One night on her way home, she runs into this thing that she believes is a sculpture of a very tall humanoid. In my imagination, it's me. Inspired to create, she calls her friend Andy to bring his camera, and they film a video which he uploads to YouTube. Unbeknownst to them at the time, this is one of 64 sculptures that are exactly the same and that appeared in major cities all around the world. They can't be moved or destroyed, and soon it's evident that this is extraterrestrial, and the video that April and Andy made has thrust them into the spotlight and fame. There's more to it, but I don't want to jump into spoilers. What I need to say right at the beginning is that this is a real page turner. I just continually wanted to find out what was happening next. It also ticks a bunch of boxes that I'm interested in. YouTube, the meaning of celebrity, bisexuality, because April is bisexual, political discourse, and science fiction in general. What I was not prepared for was how much Hank delves into some of those themes. Initially, I thought this was going to be some pulpy science fiction tale, and to some degree, it still is. But it's also meant for the world as a way to better understand some of these harder ideas and to grapple with them. Take, for instance, this paragraph from page 50. So here's a really stupid thing about the world. The trick to looking cool is not caring whether you look cool. So the moment you achieve perfect coolness is simultaneously the moment that you actually completely don't care. I didn't care about the gravitas of that TV show, and the freedom and security and confidence that came with that was a rush. It took me a while to realize that the feeling I was feeling was power. This is something that April struggles with for a lot of the book. Is she altruistically trying to change the world, or is she simply deluding herself so that she can grab more power? Something that happens in the book is a group called the Defenders rises up as opposition to her view that the Carls, which she lovingly calls the statues, are peaceful and are not here to cause harm. But April begins to frame her decisions to whether she will win or she will lose, as her fans and even her friends begin to not look at her as a person anymore, but April May the idea. So does she start to look at other groups as enemies, and in some ways, scapegoats. Power is seductive, I think. I wouldn't know, because I'm the least powerful person you'll ever meet. Well, me and Tucker Carlson, but at least he knows how to tie a bow tie. As soon as you have power, you really want to hold on to it. You begin caring about stuff you never did before. For April, this is social media and television. When you have a brand to uphold, these things are very important. And then this on page 78. But it's telling that with this, I knew it was a bad idea even then, but I still couldn't control myself. Knowing something is a bad idea does not always decrease the odds that you will do it. If I had examined my motivations on this one, I probably wouldn't have liked what I found. So I didn't. I value what Hank Green has to say about fame because he went through that. He could not possibly have envisioned that when he and his brother started a video project called Vlog Brothers, that years later, he'd be wealthier than most people in the United States. He has multiple YouTube channels, podcasts, a merchandise company, a charity, and a few conferences. His mini empire has exploded. But at the same time, he's always been upfront about that struggle, that he understands he's very privileged and that he wants to use that power he has for good. Power and fame are intertwined. Hank Green is powerful, but I don't know how famous I would say he is. This is one of my favorite breakdowns in the book, where April states there are 5 different tiers of fame: popularity, notoriety, working class fame, true fame, and divinity. That could be an entire other video, but there are scales to these tiers, which is the number of people who know who you are and the devotion those people have to you. For instance, a cult leader would have a divinity level of devotion, but only a popular level audience size. Mini spoiler right now, this book certainly leaves itself open for a sequel, one that I would very much like to read. But something that April's ex-girlfriend Maya writes, I think, sums up a lot about what this book is about. She says, "You're so caught up in this, you have no idea. To Miranda and Robin, you're so much more than a person. They've never known an April May that wasn't famous. Have either of them ever said no to anything you've ever told them to do? Listen to me, April. In those relationships, you have all the power. Too much power. I've watched you with them. They idolize you. That's how fame works. It sucks. No one you meet from now on is ever again going to feel normal around you. Both of them feel like it's a privilege just to be near you. Don't get me wrong, fame and power definitely allow for certain positives in your life, not worrying about money and pursuing your passions chief among them. But the trade-off is that the relationships you begin cannot be as deep because that fame precedes you for good or for bad. I also don't want to misrepresent the book. There is action and danger and humor, and a portion even has some great mystery puzzle solving. But this book is deeper than that surface level plot. This is a rumination about celebrity and how people can use that for good and for bad, and it can be the same person who does both. And with social media and cable news also being huge plot points in the book, there is time given to showing how entrenched we can start to feel in our own views that we begin to demonize those who we disagree with. Those disagreements can become violent and toxic. And this is something that I've thought now for a while, but I don't look at those 2 clips we discussed at the beginning in the same way anymore. I see 2 sides yelling and not a lot of listening going on. That doesn't mean I think everyone needs to agree with each other, but I do think we can still listen in good faith and take what people are saying to try to understand. Which only works until the other side is not listening in good faith and instead wants to take what you're saying to embarrass or defame you. It's a complicated topic. I once thought that the internet was going to be this utopia, where different ideas could coexist and knowledge would be readily available. Instead, what's happened is that disinformation can be spread rapidly, and the internet, including YouTube and other sites, are often used as recruitment for toxic and violent extremists who are more interested in causing chaos rather than enlightenment. What's truly remarkable about an absolutely remarkable thing is that it threads all of these ideas in an exciting narrative with characters I empathize with, going through a plot where I wasn't sure what was going to happen next. If I had a small gripe, it would be that it feels too much like it ends on a cliffhanger so that a sequel will get even more money. But that could just be my pessimism showing. I like actual endings. But I'm curious what you thought. Have you read it? What stood out to you? Would you ever want to be powerful or famous? Let me know in the comments. I'm just here to let you know that as soon as I attain fame, I'm never talking to any of you ever again. But until that time, I'll see you next Thursday. What do you think, Josh?
That was pretty good.
First take, one take.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Didn't have to redo anything?
Not a single thing did I have to redo.